It started snowing in London last night. I took a few pictures then, but I got up a little earlier than usual and I'm going to use this variance in environment to shoot through this roll of Fuji Sensia 400. I don't have any experience or preference for this film, but for this role specifically, I am curious about it. This is a slide film, and the point of the video will be to move through from taking the pictures to seeing how they look on a light table and projected. As the images you see won't have the chance to be color corrected like they do in scanning, I'm shooting with a Nikon A2 warming filter as well as the Skylight 1B I keep on my camera to pull back a bit of the colder color temperature. Another thing I love about the Hexar is that you can see I haven't finished the roll of film in the camera. I'm up to shot 31. But if I trigger the rewind and wait until it's almost finished, you'll see 2 dashes. For a second here, it's paused with the film leader still out of the roll, so I can put this back in later and pick up where I left off. That's kinda what happened with this roll of Sensia I'm putting into the camera now, except it arrived, I guess forgotten about, inside a second-hand camera I brought, shot through to frame 23. So as well as this roll being well and truly expired, half of what's on here is a mystery. That's the best case scenario too. I borrowed a roll off a friend once, a roll they got from another friend's dad, and a mixed bag of films and camera bits passed on from the old days. I shot that roll and my intimate nude shots ended up double exposed with that dad's pictures he'd shot 15 years ago and obviously forgotten about. What I'm doing now is setting the camera to its highest settings and blocking the lens to shoot past those already shot frames. Even though it was only up to shot 23 previously, I'll get it up to shot 24. With such minimal spacing between each frame, and that little bit of difference when loading the film each time, means that you could end up with 2 frames overlapping. So instead of potentially spoiling 2 images, I'll sacrifice 1 blank frame. A quick designation to remember where I was up to, and let's head out. Although I've self-imposed the restriction of having only 1 camera, to approach things in only one way and to become flawless at that way, instances like this where the interest is in static scenes, I do start to feel the familiar itch for a larger format. The light was beautiful while I was out, which seems strange to say considering my exposures were multiple seconds long. But the sky was bright, brighter than it looks on the digital footage. Maybe a full moon beyond the cloud cover. One of those nights where the sky seems to glow pink. Add the whiteness of the snow reflecting any light, a pseudo-brightness coming from the ground, a welcome relief from the grey pavements and black tar seal. The first picture I try isn't wont to catch that sky. The tree lit from a nearby streetlight feels balanced in exposure. Next stop is the bagel shop. Always bright, always colourful. Shooting slide film, I guess it's these street scenes which feel the most suitable. For some reason it's slides that seem to relate a certain feeling of the times, which could just be due to the fact that slides become somewhat of an artifact, an item which can pass from a family holiday, a family home into the hands of someone 50 years later, rifling through boxes and antique shops. Slides visually described an era. They held strong and outlived the meager paper of a print from a negative. Or maybe those prints are locked away in family albums, unable to travel to the same extent. But it's the streets, no? And they give you the most clues to what the mood is of that day. Portraits, a face, a family, when done well, are timeless. This advertisement for travel to Taiwan felt like a nice contrast. Does it snow in Taiwan? I'm picturing heat and humidity. I'm picturing smoking a cigarette outside the airport, and the smoke feeling no different than the air a moment before. In the last video I mentioned the series might only serve as a remembrance to shots I've missed, and when I said that I thought mostly of those pictures that float by like smoke, only momentarily visible. Playing these clips back now, I found another degree to it. Within the context of the viewable, without being distracted by being there, having to contend with whatever thoughts or feelings I may have been contending with, emotional, sure, or even physical, like the snow seeping into my boots, being able to essentially watch my own uninterrupted vision play back to me, I'm disappointed I didn't get a picture of the scene with the two different colored street lamps. But this mural, if you'll allow, feels like something I couldn't turn away from, and a fitting way to end the early morning stroll. I wonder how long this has been written here. Surely you'd have to be a real Scrooge city cleaner to wash this off. I went out later that morning with hopes and visions of a snowy city like an old Bob Dylan album cover. But this is London, and this wasn't that heavy of a snowfall. The closer to city I got, the quicker it turned to brown slush. So what I decided to do instead was take my pal Saki out to the marshes and see what we could do. How much of her clothes I could convince her to take off and shoot the rest of that roll there. I only know of 2 labs in London who do E6 processing. Bayard tends to have the faster turnaround time, and it's also filled with lovely people. Charlotte, that's a shout out for you. I can tell straight away that this roll was further gone down that expired road than I had hoped. You can see the thinness of these negatives. You shouldn't really be able to see through them like that. But at least I can see all the images are there, and it looks like no double exposures. I'll start with the mystery shots at the beginning of the roll. If anyone recognizes these locations, let me know. I'm thinking Prague or something. I love this. As happy as I would be to find something super private, some nudes from the late 90s or some weird family portraits, this does evoke that antique store feel I was talking about. Here's our first shot. The tree in the sky, just as I'd hoped. I'm going to linger on these a little bit longer than I usually would because, yeah, this is the best they get. The projection filmed with the digital camera at least looked horrible. Like, the negatives are thin. This is kind of the best they're going to look for you. So we'll spend some time here. Yeah, I did try and scan them. I thought I could maybe drop the scans in so we could look at the pictures as I was kind of shooting them. But yeah, that Epson V700, this severely expired slide, I just couldn't get it looking nice. It would do me more harm than good. Some closing notes. Don't let this put you off shooting slide. I'll flick through real quick some other slides I've shot at the end. Ectochrome, which is current and not expired. This was a completely bonus roll and it could have been blank, so it's still a win. hey, it's only a reason to go out and do and see things and pay attention and be attentive. So, bye.